Good morning. For those who I have not yet had the opportunity to meet, my name is Walter Gendell, and I am thrilled and honored to be your worship associate this morning. I also want to extend a big, warm welcome to all of you to the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Desert this beautiful Sunday morning. Whether you are here in the sanctuary or listening online, I am so glad to see you all. But before we begin, please take a moment to silence your cell phones before they start ringing. As we begin our service, I think it is important that we continue to acknowledge that we gather today on the ancestral and unceded territories of the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla people who have stewarded this land throughout the generations, and that we also strongly commit to growing our understanding and relationship with this land, with the people who inhabited it and nurtured it before our arrival. In this congregation, we strive to honor the inherent worth and dignity of every person. And what that means to all of you is that all of you are welcomed. You're welcome no matter your sexual orientation or gender identity, your age or your size, whether you are rich or whether you are poor. You are welcomed regardless of your immigration status, your race, religion, or culture, wherever you come from and whomever you love. We welcome all those who will learn and grow with us as we commit together to embrace the rich and beautiful diversity of the world. I invite all of you to help build a community centered in justice, in compassion, and in love. We are glad you are with us this morning, whether you are again here in the sanctuary or at home. We are very grateful for your presence. Again, please join us for coffee after our service. If you want to learn more about us or our programming, please contact the office at admin, ADMIN, at uucod.org, or visit our website, also uucod.org. But to make this even easier for you, you can see one of our members at the welcome table in the lobby after the service. And now, please join me as Reverend Ian rings the Tibetan bowl and we listen to the wonderful Chip Prince play our music for centering to start the service.
Good morning. We begin our service today with the words of my colleague, the Reverend Rebecca Savage. Welcome, beloveds, welcome. We come to spiritual community this morning with many hopes in our hearts, the hope for inspiration, the hope for comfort, the hope for renewal. In this time and space, may inspiration water our thirsty souls. In this time and space, may comfort blossom in the gardens of our hearts and bring us sweet relief. In this time and space, may renewal course through us, as electric as a surge of energy, as serene as a nourishing meal, as contagious as joy, and bring us vitality and rejuvenation. May our time together honor all the hopes we hold within. May our time together bless us with the gifts of inspiration, comfort, and renewal. Let us worship together. And friends, we're going to begin that worship, that togetherness, by rising in body or in spirit as we sing our opening song together, Come Sing a Song with Me.
Bring you home.
all sound so great together. Thank you. So now is the time for our chalice lighting and unison aspiration. As Reverend Ian lights our chalice, please join me in the words which you can see on the screens above. What if sometimes it's not about a light in darkness? What if sometimes it's about sparking potential into possibility and possibility into existence? What if sometimes the flame that burns in the chalice of our faith is nothing less than the ember of hope and nothing more than the set ablaze? What sometimes all we need to do is follow this flame, one among scores, hundreds, thousands of steadily flickering flames across the land and among so many peoples on the way to justice and into the land of peace. What if we dare to kindle that chalice? And now for our BIPOC candle lighting, if I can invite Steve up to light the candles and to join me in these words, which are on your screen. We light these candles in solidarity with Black, Indigenous, and other people of color as we journey together towards spiritual wholeness. May we, as a beloved community, work to dismantle racism and all forms of oppression. May we live out our principles so that justice, dignity, and equity for all prevail. Thank you, Steve. So today's reading, this morning's reading, is from Hope Rises, from A House for Hope, The Promise of Progressive Religion for the 21st Century by John Burens and Rebecca Ann Parker. Hope rises. It rises from the heart of life, here and now, beating with joy and sorrow. Hope longs. It longs for good to be affirmed, for justice and love to prevail, for suffering to be alleviated, and for life to flourish in peace. Hope remembers the dreams of those who have gone before and reaches for connection with them across the boundary of death. Hope acts to bless, to protest, and to repair. Hope can be disappointed, especially when it is individual rather than shared, or when, even as a shared aspiration, it encounters entrenched opposition. To thrive, hope requires a home, a sustaining structure of community, meaning, and ritual. Only with such a habitation can hope manifest the spiritual stamina it needs to confront evil, endure through trouble, and hold fast to that which is good.
This is the time in our service where we share the joys and sorrows of our hearts, those things that come with us into this space, those pieces of our lives that are stirring within us joyfully, sorrowfully, the fears and the hopes that we carry together. I invite you to hold these in your heart. Hold yourself in your heart, your neighbor in your heart, your family in your heart, the people who you love and appreciate in your heart, the people who you are tempted to hate in your heart. I invite you to hold all of us, all of them, in your heart as we pause in quiet time together, resting in the loving kindness of this community, the support of this community, the work and joy and struggle of this community, held in the love that is here in this room, which is a part of the love which holds us each and every day. I invite you to pause now for a time of quiet reflection, prayer, and I will finish our quiet with some words. We rest in the quiet and love of this place. Consider this an invitation to you with your happiness and your burdens, your hopes and your regrets, an invitation if you feel good today, and an invitation if you do not, if you are aching. And there are so many ways to ache. Whoever you are, however you are, wherever you are in your journey, this prayer is an invitation into peace. Peace in your heart. Peace in your heart. And with every breath, peace in your heart. Maybe your heart is heavy or hardened. Maybe it's troubled. And peace can take up residence only in a small corner, only on the edge with all that is going on in the world and in your life. Ni modo, it doesn't matter. All that you need for a deep and comforting peace to grow lies within you. Once it is in your heart, let it spread into your life. And let it pour from your life into the world. And once it is in the world, let it shine upon all beings. The words of Angela Herrera. May all beings know peace. May all beings know an end to suffering. May all beings know love. Will you join your beautiful voices, friends, as we sing together Spirit of Life, Fuente de Amor. On my desk in my office here at the church, I have a little notebook, this little notebook. If you open it up, on every right-hand page, you'll see a few words, sometimes just one, most often a question like, where is the holy in this? Are you hungry, angry, lonely, or tired? Are you wrong? What am I choosing to serve? Questions like that. I reach for this little book when I'm stuck, when I'm overwhelmed, when I'm flabbergasted by something that's just happened, or uncertain how to move forward, when I'm bored, which doesn't happen often, or when I'm irritated. It's a practice that I've built over the years. I don't remember where I got the idea, perhaps from a colleague or a book that I read. But answering one of the prompting questions in my little gold book helps pull me out of my stuckness, helps me see possibility or the possibility of possibility where there was only deadened certainty before. Just as we need practices and habits in our lives to help us to do the things we need to do in a day, I know my life got better when I put a little tray next to the door to the garage where I keep my wallet and my keys and my sunglasses, so I never forget. Just like we need those practices in our day-to-day lives, I think also we are helped through larger, more consequential things when we build practices that help guide us, that help jolt us out of complacency and certainty, that remind us of possibility. There's an old teaching that encourages us to remember that we move through the world with an idea in each of our two pockets. In one pocket, we reach in to find the words written, "I am but dust and ashes." And in the other pocket, we reach in to find the words, "For me was all this made." This teaching invites us into a practice of understanding that there are other perspectives and that we are glorious and humble beings. When I worked at Barnes & Noble years ago, we had a practice each morning just before the store opened of gathering all the staff present together for a morning huddle. Corporate news was highlighted and changes in procedures, reminders of when shipments were coming in, and reminders of events happening in the store that day. It helped us all to be on the same page, and it helped us see each other and remember who was there with us if we needed help or guidance or just someone to check in with. It was a practice of information sharing, yes, but it was also a practice of community building. Maybe you had practices in the family you grew up in or the families you have built with your partner or children or friends over the years. Regular family meetings, expressing gratitude or saying a prayer at each meal, bedtime rituals of stories and lullabies. Bedtime rituals of stories and lullabies, even if you don't have children in the house. Maybe you've developed practices with your partners about how you can talk with each other when times are tricky or tense, or rituals of support on hard work days. Practices that help you care for each other in illness or an injury. On the wall of my office is a small poster given to me by a dear friend with the words of the great sage Ursula Le Guin. Love doesn't just sit there like a stone. It has to be made like bread, remade all the time, made new. It's there on my wall as a practice to remind me, when I look at it, that love is a daily practice, not just a one-off decision. We need practices in our lives. We need reminders to remember the things that make our lives meaningful and possible and lovingly relational. Our minds, unfortunately, can't do it on their own. We get stuck in ruts or overwhelmed by the needs of the world, the needs of the day. And so we create and follow practices and rituals that help us remember what's important and which pull ourselves into different spaces so that we can see and hear and imagine differently. Our theme here for the month of December is nurturing hope. Hope seems like a hard thing to feel these days. The chaos and cruelty of our political and social situation in this country, with the lives and rights of so many of our neighbors and kin threatened, with the seemingly spreading endless destruction of war around the world, where is there hope? Well, if you remember your Emily Dickinson, hope, she writes, is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And later she says, I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. Perhaps that is what hope has been or is for you, something you experience as a gift, as a grace, as something that is with you always and asks nothing of you. I think for many of us, though, especially these days, hope is hard to find, as Joyce Poley invited us to sing together earlier. In the face of fear and cruelty, destruction and violence, where are we to find hope? Hear again what John Burens and Rebecca Parker said to us in some of the words that Walter shared with us earlier. To thrive, Hope requires a home, a sustaining structure of community, meaning, and ritual. Hope requires a sustaining structure of ritual, of practice, of remembering, of habit building. I think especially in these dark times, we are called to build practices of hope, build practices that remind us of hope, practices that jolt us out of overwhelm and deer in the headlights freezing and remind us to remember hope. Like love, hope needs to be remade all the time, made new. So I want to talk with you about some practices of hope, some rituals of hope. You will certainly come up with your own by yourself or with your kin and neighbors. These are some that I have been cultivating in many ways as I try to find and build hope in myself. The first practice I want to lift up for you is just this: make something. It seems like such a silly thing to invite you to make something as a practice of hope. Knit a sock or a hat, bake a cake or make pickles, hook a rug or throw a pot or a mug, sew a shirt or draw a self-portrait, write a haiku or plant a cactus. But doing those things, and so many other things besides, engages your mind and your body in deep ways, maybe pulling you out of fear, out of inaction. Making something engages us in what Le Guin calls the work of hand-mind. She writes, "The hand that shapes the mind into clay or written word slows thought to the gait of things and lets it be the subject to accident and time." So, making something can achieve the task of pulling us out of our current mental state and allowing our mind and our hands to do something different, to think differently, to think and act concretely. Also, and this is a powerful thing for me, it allows you to start and finish something, to complete something. I'm going to talk a little bit later about the enormity of the need of the world, but it can certainly feel like nothing big is ever changing, like we're small and unable to make change happen. But you can finish a sock or transplant a rose or eat that cake you've baked, which will bring joy even if it doesn't bring hope, right? You can start something and finish it. And there's deep beauty and satisfaction in that, and an invitation into seeing that things can be done. So make something. Next habit, the next practice I invite you to in is read something. Now, it will not surprise you that I am suggesting reading as a practice of hope. I've been talking about reading a lot more lately, though it's usually in terms of self-care and escape. Little escapes from the world. And there's nothing wrong with that. We need a break. We need different ways to use our minds. We need even the experience of being in someone else's story that reading fiction can bring us. But today I'm thinking of a different kind of reading. I'm thinking of reading about our current situation, or about the history of our society or culture, or reading material that will bring a new or deeper or more complex perspective on things. Reading the work of authors who don't look like us or think like us, who have radically different experiences in life than we do, to help us see differently and perhaps offer a space for hope in differing ways of seeing, bringing us pieces of knowledge that help us ground what comes next. And reading, especially reading history, can show you that we have survived awful times before. That despite hardship and cruelty, human beings have been heroic, have worked for justice and change, and have taken care of each other. Rebecca Solnit is someone I've been reading a little more of lately. She wrote a book in the early 2000s about how communities and neighbors responded to disasters, such as the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, such as Hurricane Katrina, such as 9/11. And how, she writes, how what she saw in the response to these disasters were communities coming together and supporting each other, rescuing each other, helping each other to safety. Despite the media and government portrayals of panic and violence, the vast majority of people responded to these events with care for their neighbors. In a later book called Hope in the Dark, Solnit reflected on this learning that she had done while writing the other book. These people, she said, who have lost everything, who were living in rubble or in ruins, had found agency, meaning, community, immediacy in their work together with other survivors. Solnit also speaks to the importance of reading and learning and understanding our real history as we build hope for the future. She writes this: grounds for hope lie in the records and recollections of the past. We can tell of a past that was nothing but defeats and cruelties and injustices, or of a past that was some lovely golden age now irretrievably lost. Or we can tell a more complicated and accurate story, one that has room for the best and the worst, for atrocities and liberations, for grief and jubilation. A memory commensurate to the complexity of the past and the whole cast of participants. A memory, she concludes, that includes our power. This memory produces that forward, directed energy called hope. For Solnit, hope is not the same thing as optimism. Optimism is a certainty that things will go well. Pessimism is a certainty that things will go badly. Hope is different. She writes, it's important to say what hope is not. It is not the belief that everything was, is, or will be fine. The hope I'm interested in is about broad perspectives with specific possibilities, ones that invite or demand that we act. Hope locates itself in the premises that we don't know what will happen, and in that in the spaciousness of uncertainty, there is room to act. I would highly recommend you reading anything by Rebecca Solnit, but especially Hope in the Dark these days. So we can read something for escape. We can read something for learning and broadening our perspective and seeing possibility through the lens of another mind. And we can also read to be inspired, to be moved, to center ourselves in the beauty of language and have it invite us into seeing the beauty in the world around us. Poetry is often an invitation into this inspiration. So I have part of a poem to share with you this morning that has been inspiring me lately. Aurora Levins Morales, who is a disabled and chronically ill community-supported writer, historian, artist, and activist, invites us to see differently with these words from her poem, Va'ahavta, which is the title of a Jewish prayer as well. She writes these words in various parts of this poem. Say these words when you lie down and when you rise up, when you go out and when you return, in times of mourning and in times of joy. Inscribe them on your doorposts, embroider them on your garments, tattoo them on your shoulders, teach them to your children, your neighbors, your enemies, recite them in your sleep. Here in the cruel shadow of empire, another world is possible. Defend the world in which we win as if it were your child. It is your child. Defend it as if it were your lover. It is your lover. When you inhale and when you exhale, breathe the possibility of another word into the 37.2 trillion cells of your body until it shines with hope. Then imagine more. Hold hands. Share water. Keep imagining so that we and the children of our children's children may live. More than a decade ago, riding the elevated train in Chicago, I saw a sign recruiting volunteers to test drugs to block the transmission of HIV before it could even get started its work in the body. Drugs that have now offered new freedom and safety to millions of people. The sign said, hope takes action. And so the next habit I'm going to invite you into is to change something, to do something. We can build hope in ourselves and in others by doing something. But you say, I'm overwhelmed by the hugeness of it all. That's the problem. I can't possibly fix all of this. Rabbi Tarfon, who lived at the end of the 1st century CE and into the 2nd, took the words of the prophet Micah and expanded them into this admonition. Do not be daunted by the enormity of the world's grief. Do justly now. Love mercy now. Walk humbly now. You are not obligated to complete the work, but neither are you free to abandon it. Do something. Do a small thing. Make a phone call to your representative in Congress. Write a letter to the editor. Have coffee with your neighbor who thinks differently than you do. Make a donation to an organization helping women find reproductive health care or one which fights for our rights in the courts. March in a protest action. Volunteer at a shelter or a food bank. Spend some time with your nephew or niece who just came out. Sign a petition. Attend a school board meeting or a city planning meeting. Make a gift for a friend rather than buy something. Choose to attend a training on resistance. Choose to not eat meat on Mondays. Do something. Even a small thing can help you toward feelings of accomplishment and possibility and crack you out of complacency or paralysis. In 1979, Bishop Ken Untener of Saginaw wrote in a prayer that is often wrongly attributed to Archbishop Oscar Romero, we cannot do everything, and there is a sense of liberation in realizing that. This enables us to do something and to do it well. It may be incomplete, but it is a beginning, a step along the way. We never see the end results. We are prophets of a future not our own. And another that runs through everything we do here in this place, craft community. Build communities of connection and possibility. Make places for solidarity and support, for challenge and skill building. Communities that hold our grief and share our joy. Because one of the greatest effects of fear and overwhelm is the lie that we are alone, that we're isolated and powerless. We are not. You are not. You are not alone. Remember the words that Walter shared earlier from Rebecca Parker and John Burns. To thrive, hope requires a home, a sustaining structure of community, meaning, and ritual. Only with such a habitation can hope manifest the spiritual stamina it needs to confront evil, endure through trouble, and hold fast to that which is good. We will continue to talk about hope all month this month. I hope you get sick of it. But we're going to talk about hope. But for today, may we choose each day to build habits of hope in our hearts, in our homes, and in our communities. May we hold hands, share water, and keep imagining together. May we dare to choose possibility, justice, and love. Friends, we are constantly looking for hope, I know. We look for hope everywhere we go. I know that. So let's sing about that a little bit. Why don't we? Please rise in body or in spirit as we sing our closing song, There Is More Love Somewhere.
Till I find
All right, now for some congregational news, but before I share that with you, I do want to again take this opportunity to thank the many people that helped organize, deliver our service this morning, from the folks on our AV team, to Rob and our hospitality team, our greeters and ushers, Jack for his wonderful graphics, and all the folks who helped set up and take down the tables for our coffee after service, and all of you for being here and continuing to strengthen our community. Thank you. Your presence is a blessing. And now, our congregational news. Calling all bakers and those who love their treats. The Board of Directors is pleased to bring you the first ever UUCOD Bake-Off set for January 19th after service. So come one, come all, and whether savory or sweet, bring your best. Bagels, bars, biscuits, blondies, breads, brownies, buns, cakes, churros, cookies, crackers, cupcakes, custard, donuts, empanadas, muffins, pastry pies, pudding, tarts, and torts. All are welcome as we break bread together over some great goodies. For more information, please email Bob Rancourt at president@uucod.org to get involved. The next announcement is for Gals Who Lunch. Join them on December 9th from noon to 2 p.m. at Dickey's Barbecue at 42452 Bob Hope Drive in Rancho Mirage. They do have limited vegetarian options such as salads, mac and cheese, and loaded baked potatoes. This is very casual dining, though sure to be a grand old time for all you gals. There is a sign-up sheet on the round table in the foyer. For more information, contact Sarita Gonzalez. Her contact info can be found in our directory. Next, though the weather has been beautiful, it is getting quite chilly and cold at night. So as a reminder, please bring socks next Sunday for Socks on the 2nd, so we can provide for those on the street some extra protection for their feet. Didn't quite mean to make a rhyme out of that, but there you go. But seriously, this is so needed. Talk about, as Reverend Ian did, taking an action. And such a small gesture like bringing in socks could have such a huge impact for those in need. So thank you. And lastly, 2 quick announcements from the Social Justice Committee. First, a big thank you to the 19 UUCOD friends and members who volunteered at Galilee to fill 740 food baskets this past Tuesday, and the 10 who distributed them on Wednesday. So, thank you. And second, the CVUSD Migrant Ed food box and toy drives have ended. Thank you for your generosity. If you signed up to fill the food boxes on December 7th or serve dinner on December 10th, please watch your email for more information. And this concludes congressional news portion of our service. So please, together, let us now extinguish the chalice as we say these words on the screen above. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
I wanted to mention one little thing about a small thing one can do to change the world. When I was talking with Chip about the music for this service, he shared with me that he has been choosing lately to try and highlight female composers. And so the prelude, the music for gathering, for centering, and the offertory this morning were written by female composers. The postlude not, but the postlude was kind of a request from me. So thank you, Chip, for that. But it's a small action, right, that we can take to change the way we see and experience the world. Rebecca Solnit wrote, "How do we get back to the struggle over the future? I think you have to hope. And hope in this sense is not a prize or a gift, but something you earn through study, through resisting the ease of despair, and through digging tunnels, cutting windows, opening doors, or finding the people who do those things. They exist. You gotta give them hope," said Harvey Milk years ago, and then he did exactly that. And so, friends, resisting despair, embracing and building hope, go in peace, dear ones, to love and serve the world.